It is with a heavy heart I take up my pen and write these last words about the best and wisest man I've ever known. My friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It had been 6 months since last I'd seen Holmes. Word had it he'd been living a solitary life, his days spending with his books in the rooms on Baker Street. Soon, however, he would undertake the final case of his remarkable career, and I would be there once again at his side.
Well, Watson is a very loyal sidekick, but he's, I think, a lot more than that. I think, as we've discussed in rehearsals and has come up, he's one of the few people that really isn't in Holmes' life that is so entrusted and so allowed to be part of a very, very private, intense character. And as such, he's witness, he's the chronicler, he's the storyteller of everything that has happened to Holmes. In terms of the canon that Doyle wrote, there are 56 stories and 4 novels, and there are, hypothetically, hundreds of other cases that Watson has been involved in, but only these were chosen to be written about. So there's this wealth of material that Watson's privy to, and he's a military man, was injured in Afghanistan in the war, and was a sportsman, and was a sort of a traveler and a medical man, and very, he's esteemed by Holmes. So he's there to serve a purpose, and several purposes, but I think a very interesting character on his own, in the fact that he is sort of the yin to the yang, or he's the other part of this pair.
Do you hear that voice? It's glorious. That voice speaks to me in a sound which is seemingly beyond reason. What I hear in that voice is not the fierce precision of music, but the incomparable sound of love. Nonsense. Cigarette, Watson?
No, thank you.
And Mrs. Watson? How long will she be away?
Oh, just a fortnight. She's visiting a... Wait. How do you know she's gone?
How do I know anything? How do I know that you recently resumed the practice of medicine, gone for a country walk in bad weather, hired a careless servant girl, and moved your dressing table to the other side of the room? Oh, don't look so dumbfounded, Watson.
But how could you surmise all that?
Well, I'm Sherlock Holmes, and probably the greatest master detective of all time. Other than that, he's an iconic character, of course, that has existed now for 100 years. Many of the present-day detectives and mystery novels have sort of come from Conan Doyle's writings. If you pick up any one of his stories today, you can see elements of contemporary fiction and film that have taken directly from these stories that were written, well over 100 years ago. All the CSI stuff. He touches on all that kind of forensic examination and science, and it was really surprising how much of the science they knew back then applies today and is still, perfectly in effect. So this is a wonderful character for any actor to be doing this.
All that is foul and wicked, from Hammersmith to Blackwall, all of it is the work of Moriarty. He is the Napoleon of crime. He sits like a spider in the center of his web. If there's a crime to be done, a house to be looted, man to be removed, you can be certain that Moriarty has authorized it. Though the agent who carries out the crime may be captured, the master himself never ever leaves a trace.
Sounds monstrous.
Yeah, I quite admire him. He's a professor, author, abstract thinker, and I can highly recommend his treatise on the dynamics of an asteroid.
Steel and ore.
Without Moriarty, London would be a singularly uninteresting place.
How can you say that?
This particular version of this particular story is only a couple years old, so no one else has seen it in this community, that's for sure. And Stephen Dietz is the playwright, who's a wonderful American contemporary playwright. Of course, there'll be a lot of surprises. Moriarty, the character of Moriarty, is in this production, and I think anyone who has any interest whatsoever in Sherlock Holmes, or even has never even heard of him, are going to have a wonderful, exciting, mysterious, compelling evening in the theater.
And it is Sherlock Holmes: The Final Adventure, although perhaps not.